YouTube! So it's the end of another month, which means that today's video is a book of the month video, and this month I have been reading The Stonewall Reader, edited by the New York Public Library. If you're new here, hello, my name is Tori Cyclic. I make new videos every Sunday for Cyclic Sunday with other videos throughout the week. If you like what you see, like this video down below and subscribe while you're down there as well. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok in the description at tss6295. Now, let's get into the video. So this month I wanted to pick a book that related to a lot of the social issues that were going on right now, as well as Pride Month, because June is Pride Month, and I wanted to educate myself a bit more this month. So at the beginning of the month, I did a bunch of research about things I could read about that were specifically about Pride because of Pride Month, and a lot of the books that I kept seeing were about Stonewall in particular, so I thought, why not focus in on that subject, because I know a little bit about the Stonewall riots, but mostly just from like general articles and some general information that I've seen online, and I wanted to learn a lot more about it. So I thought reading a book about Stonewall would be a really good way to get very educated on the subject. And also, coincidentally, the day that I'm uploading this video is the 51st anniversary of the Stonewall riots, June 28th, which I think is kind of cool as well. So it was really great to read about this month and really learn more about the subject and understand more of the LGBTQ+ experience, specifically during Stonewall. In addition, the Stonewall riots are very pertinent to the racial and social issues that are currently happening in our country, so it's always good to read about the past to see how it affects the present and to see what we can do now to change the future. I chose the Stonewall Reader, edited by the New York Public Library, in particular because one, it had some of the best reviews on Amazon, but two, it seemed like a very unbiased edition of what happened at Stonewall. Because this book is an anthology, it really allows for there to be a lot of perspectives that are seen throughout the book, especially because it is separated into 3 different sections: before Stonewall, during Stonewall, and after Stonewall. The Stonewall Reader was compiled by Jason Bauman, who works for the New York Public Library and a lot of their LGBTQ+ literature, so I think it's really good that it's compiled by somebody who's in the community, who understands what's going on, and has done a lot of research on the subject as well. The thing that I really liked about the Stonewall Reader from the beginning of it is that it felt like a book that I should have read a very long time ago to learn about the Stonewall riots and about the LGBTQ experience in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, and it reminded me a lot of books that I read in my gender and sexuality class that I took in college. I've highlighted a bunch of sections on my Kindle app that I wanted to read to you guys, so I'm going to read a couple of them to you. The first one is from the foreword of the book, which is something that I felt really related to what's happening in our lives currently with the riots and the protests for the Black Lives Matter movement, that it still is continuing everything that happened in the Stonewall era. It's still happening now. First, we cannot agree on what to call this series of events, Stonewall. Was it a riot or an uprising? The activists and reporters at the time called it a riot, eager to compare it to many of the other historic riots of the 1960s, such as those against racial oppression in Watts, Newark, Detroit, and Harlem. Many later historians and critics have preferred to call it an uprising, insisting either that the level of violence and the size of the crowd did not warrant the use of the term riot, or conversely, that calling it a riot denigrated the importance of the events. I think that last sentence is the most important one that relates to what's happening in the world currently, because calling the protest and everything that's going on a riot can kind of make it seem like it's less important, and the Black Lives Matter movement is a very important thing to have right now. The Stonewall movement created so much freedom for the LGBTQ+ community that calling it a riot can seem like it's making it of a less important event. Another thing that I thought was so interesting while reading the book is that nobody truly fully knows everything that happened at Stonewall, because so much happened, but you're getting so many different stories throughout the entire Stonewall Reader book that you get to see different perspectives. I love that the Stonewall Reader is separated into 3 different sections of before, during, and after Stonewall. You get to read stories from people who were involved in the gay liberation movement way before Stonewall, helped create societies that have grown so much because of Stonewall. And then throughout reading the section about Stonewall, you get to read what happened during the riots from so many different accounts of it. And then in the after section, you get to read and understand the effects of the Stonewall riots and how it's changed the gay liberation movement from the 1960s and 70s into the present. There's a couple sections here on page XIX that I wanted to read to you guys that I really loved while I was reading the book. Rather than struggle merely for societal acceptance, they called for a complete transformation of the society as a whole, demanding not just equality, but liberation. Veteran activists pursued their work with a renewed courage and tenacity, tackling oppressive institutions such as the psychiatric profession. The 1970s became a gay and lesbian renaissance with its own literature, music, politics, and erotic presence. LGBTQ activists won major political victories, such as the removal of homosexuality from the American Psychiatric Association's classification of mental disorders, and began to apply public pressure to combat negative stereotypes. I think reading a book like The Stonewall Reader is very important during Pride Month, as well as just in general throughout any time of the year, because it really is very eye-opening about the experiences of the LGBTQ community that I don't know about personally. There's a lot throughout The Stonewall Reader that helps me understand more of what this experience was like, as well as the safe havens that people found in their communities as LGBTQ+ people, and at Stonewall and at places like Reese Park, and just places in general where LGBTQ+ people could find a home and safety in being who they were. I think a big takeaway from this book is that the LGBTQ+ community is extremely strong and proud of themselves for their history and their heritage, and reading this book really helped to open my eyes to seeing a lot more of that. So those are my thoughts on The Stonewall Reader, edited by the New York Public Library. If you've read this book, let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. If you have any book recommendations for the future, leave those in the comments down below as well. And if there's anything you would like to see here on my channel, let me know about that in the comments down below too. Thank you guys so much for watching, TFTBA, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!